And in a lot of ways, it's how the United States has been paying for its debt this whole time. Devaluing doesn't mean default. It doesn't mean not paying back. It means to lower the real value of that debt through inflation or currency manipulation. And this has happened over and over again throughout time. After World War II, during the inflationary 1970s, and even more recently after the pandemic, when we created a ton of new money and then everything went up in price, right? More dollars chasing the same amount of stuff. So when Russia's advisor says that the US might use crypto to devalue its debt, he's not telling us anything new, right? He's describing something the US has been doing for a really long time. Now, if you take that same trick I just explained to spread liabilities globally, when those dollars are inflated, the loss gets shared by anyone holding the tokens, but we'll get into that later. But also, speaking of integrating stablecoins into everyday life, did you know that it's possible to earn what I think will be the future world reserve asset without ever buying it? That's what I've been doing with the Bitcoin credit card by Gemini, which is today's sponsor, and it's a card I've been using for a while now. All opinions are my own, and we're not influenced by Gemini. I use it like any other regular credit card for gas, groceries, and I earn Bitcoin every time I use it. It has no annual fee, and you can see rates and fees in the description for more info, but this card gives you up to 4% back over 50 cryptocurrencies instantly. You can choose which one you want. Personally, I have it set to Bitcoin. That's 4% on gas, transit, and rideshare, 3% on dining, 2% on groceries, and 1% for everything else. It's a MasterCard World Elite, and I've used it internationally with no issues, and every time I use it, it adds Bitcoin to my portfolio, which I plan to hold for the long run. And the best part is that you're investing as you spend. In fact, according to Gemini, cardholders who earned and held their Bitcoin for 1 year saw an average appreciation. But now, here's arguably the most important thing you'll ever understand about the economy. And this is credit to Jeff Booth for this one. Just remember this.
Unlock your stay for less with app-exclusive prices. Download the free Booking.com app today.
The dog is in the fridge. The boy eats the moon.
All the time. The natural state of the economy is deflationary. So what does that mean? Well, it means if the amount of money in the entire world stayed the same, like let's say there was only ever this $100 bill in the entire world, right? And it was always that amount. Over time, as technology gets more efficient, as we get better and better at making stuff, the price of everything would naturally go down. Things would get cheaper because productivity goes up, but the money supply stays the same. That is the natural order of the universe. It's decay. Things get cheaper over time, and that's how it should be. But if you think about it, that's not how the world we live in actually works for some reason. And that's because governments can make more money. And when they do, that's when you hear, oh, wait a minute, gold, real estate, stocks, Bitcoin, that's hit an all-time high. But the reality is, it's not really that those assets are going up in price. What's really happening is that the dollar's going down because we're making more of them. So it now takes more of them to buy the same thing. And when the new money floods the system, all that extra liquidity, as it's called, has to find a home. It has to find a place to go so that it doesn't become worth less. So it gets put into things like real estate, stocks, gold, Bitcoin, which is also why over the long run, those assets look like they go up forever. In reality, they're just holding their purchasing power, while the money that's underneath all of that gets weaker and weaker. So then the question is, what if you can expand this superpower, right? You can widen the same trick beyond the US borders. That's where stablecoins come in. Okay, but hold on. The US can already devalue its debt with regular inflation. What does it matter if it can do the same with stablecoins, right? This is why Russia's advisor thinks the US will actually do this. The answer comes down to distribution and control. You see, when the US inflates the dollar, the economy starts to feel the pain right away. We all see the higher grocery bills, right? The more expensive house prices, the energy costs going up, potentially higher interest rates to cool it down, those CPI and consumer price index reports go up, and then people get upset, right? But stablecoins, they change that equation. Because stablecoins park reserves in short-term US treasuries, so the demand for dollars in treasuries can actually go up as adoption grows, making the whole thing kind of self-reinforcing. Every time someone uses USDT or USDC throughout the rest of the world, they're basically holding a digital IOU backed by US treasuries. That means they are indirectly helping fund America's debt without actually buying US treasuries, right? So if the US devalues its debt through inflation, the burden doesn't just hit American citizens, it gets exported worldwide through the stablecoin system. So inflation then becomes kind of a shared tax that stablecoin holders everywhere are forced to pay because their digital dollars also lose purchasing power at the same time. Now, this is also technically true of today's system because dollars are everywhere throughout the world, but this would become a much bigger market that would also exist on people's smartphones. And here's the other piece of the puzzle. Stablecoins can look neutral because they could be created by private companies, not just the government. What that means is they don't carry the same political baggage that, is associated with the Federal Reserve or the Treasury. And under the Genius Act, it says only approved issuers like banks, trust companies, or non-bank firms can get special approval. They can issue regulated dollar-backed stablecoins in the United States. So if Apple or Meta wanted to, they could create their own currency like MetaCoin, right? All they got to do to get approval is just suck up to the president a little, right?
How much are you spending, would you say, over the next few years?
I think it's probably going to be something like, at least $600 billion.
Show your loyalty, spend a little bit of money, and that's why stablecoins are going to play such a huge role in the devaluation of our debt. It's kind of CBDC level of control without the CBDC brand. Now here's why the rest of the world wants no part in any of this. And we know it doesn't because of how much gold the world has been buying. That's what's happening to gold right now. Countries are like, we don't want your stable coins. Give us gold because it was the agreed upon standard for thousands of years. So let's just go back to that. But why don't they want any part of this, right? It's because even though stablecoins are supposed to be backed one-to-one by real US assets like dollars or treasuries, in theory, every single stablecoin in circulation should have a real dollar or bond equivalent sitting right behind it. The problem is, there's no way for a person or a foreign government to audit that claim with 100% certainty. Companies like Tether and Circle release reports, but you have to trust the issuer and the auditor, and they're all mostly US based. And when it comes to trust, especially when it comes to trillions of dollars, that's a big ask between countries. Even if one day blockchain technology makes it possible to fully audit those reserves in real time, that still doesn't really solve the bigger problem, which is that the US can always change the rules. Remember, the government once promised that dollars would always be redeemable for gold, and then in 1971, Nixon just rug pulls everyone, right? That link was cut. So from the world's perspective, that was kind of like the ultimate rule change, right? That was the promise of redemption and then just kidding. So a trust us token isn't really gonna cut it. There's nothing technical that stops the US from doing the exact same thing, but this time with stablecoins. And that's why there's so much distrust in the world about moving to this new digital system. So then the next question is, will the US actually do this then? And I actually think it's more possible, maybe even inevitable, that the US is already experimenting with this idea, just not in the way that we hear about it. For example, Michael Saylor, he was very public, right? He's advised Donald Trump and his family that America should have a Bitcoin strategic reserve. His plan was if the US sold off all its gold and bought Bitcoin, it would crush gold prices, it would hurt competing countries like China and Russia, and at the same time, it would send Bitcoin's price way up and recapitalize America's balance sheet. But in the end, that's not what ended up happening. Instead, during Trump's presidency, the idea of this US Bitcoin reserve, it ended up being just an idea that was teased, but it was never fully something that became real. The US said it would never use taxpayer dollars to buy any Bitcoin, and it really hasn't been buying any, at least not that we know of publicly. So I don't think it's gonna happen the way Michael Saylor was advised. Publicly would happen. But this is where the private angle comes in. Because while the government might not be openly buying Bitcoin, there's a back door. There's another way this could happen behind the scenes. So think about MicroStrategy, right? This stock. The company has basically become a public Bitcoin proxy with Michael Saylor. They've been buying Bitcoin nonstop. They now hold hundreds of thousands of Bitcoins. So what if, instead of the US government buying Bitcoin directly and then risking global panic, what if it's easier to just let a corporation do it first? That way, it doesn't look like some central bank operation and no one's really paying attention. And then later, if Bitcoin really does become a strategic asset, the US government could take in and take a partial stake in MicroStrategy, the same way it took 10% ownership in companies like in. So this precedent already exists. I mean, think about it. Why would the US openly risk crashing the gold market with a $1 trillion Bitcoin purchase or a forced stablecoin rollout? Why would it sell its gold if it still has any, right? It's way easier and much smarter just to let private companies do the heavy lifting first, let them experiment, and then the US government come in and adopt what's already working. That's how the US has always played the game. Innovation starts privately, and when it becomes way too important to ignore, it gets absorbed nationally, right? This way, it's way more subtle, way more gradual, and it's kind of deniable until the day it becomes official. But the point I'm trying to make is that there's a lot of ways that this could happen and probably will happen. So yes, the Russian advisor is 100% correct in his assumption that that's what the US will most likely do at some point in the future if it cares about solving its national debt. But whatever ends up happening, either way, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know down in the comments below. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. I'd love to see you back here next week. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
All right, y'all. So we are officially now in a government shutdown. So it started last night. I believe it was at 12 o'clock at night on the dot. And I want to walk you through what that means here. So let me start with this and just give you the general breakdown of exactly what's happening. So about 750,000 federal workers are going to be furloughed daily. 750,000. And there are still things that are considered essential that continue. So for example, a bunch of military stuff, law enforcement stuff, border protection, air traffic control, critical healthcare stuff like the VA, like all that stuff continues, but a lot of stuff stops. So anything that's administrative in the government, anything that's clerical, any support roles, agencies like the Department of Education and Housing and Commerce, about, I think it's like half or so of the CDC and Health and Human Services. So a lot of people are furloughed. Like I said, nearly 1 million people are furloughed. Then there's also, people who still have to work, but then they don't get paid yet. And, in previous shutdowns, it's like when they got it all sorted out, there was back pay that was given and whatnot. I don't know if I trust this regime to do that. That's the first point. But this was all because they couldn't reach a budget deal. Now, remember, Trump's the president, so the Republicans hold the White House, the Senate, the House of Representatives, and they hold the courts, although that's not pertinent to this conversation. So they control every lever of government, and so this is 100% on them. Now they need 7 Democratic votes, I believe it is, to get to the 60 votes that's needed for a budget deal. But the way that works in reality is that you now need to go to those Democrats and say, hey, what can we offer you in order to get a deal through? And Trump's reaction instead was, fuck you. And he literally said, like, go fuck yourself, or something to that effect. We covered it the other day. It's something like, go fuck yourself, he said to the Democrats. So it's like, okay, well, then I guess you got to try to figure this out all on your own. And here we are. So there was no deal that was reached. Literally the only thing Democrats are asking for is funding for the Obamacare subsidies, which would keep healthcare prices lower than what they would be otherwise. That's all they're asking for. And the reaction from the right has been to just flat out lie over and over and over and say stuff like, Democrats are demanding that we fund healthcare for illegal immigrants, and that's what they're stuck on, and that's what they're fighting. It's just a total lie. Like, it's literally just a complete and utter lie. It's not true at all, not even close to true. The subsidies do not go, and Medicaid under Obamacare, the expansion does not go to undocumented immigrants, but they just lie and run with it, and that becomes the talking point. And so you get, half the media landscape just regurgitating this lie, and then you get the other half going, that's not actually true, and here we are. The right bulldozes over the Democrats, and now we're officially in a government shutdown. So what does that mean, though? Because, obviously what should happen here is Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, the Democrats, should really take a stand and should really use this moment to highlight how much of a rogue regime this is, and to demand, hey, you need 7 of our votes. In order to get 7 of our votes, here's what we're demanding. Not only to keep healthcare prices lower and keep having the subsidies for Obamacare. Not only that, I would also be demanding you can't continue to deploy the U.S. military against U.S. citizens. That's wildly illegal. That's fucking fascist dictator shit. Let's stop pretending like this shit is normal, right? Those are just 2 examples of things you can and should bring up. I mean, honestly, it should be a list of like 5 or 10 things that you bring up. But let's just start there, right? Well, guess what? Here is what's going to happen now. So listen to this. Just a momentary lapse in appropriations, a shutdown that lasts minutes or hours, would give Russell Vaught the power to tell agency leaders to move past the usual furloughs, temporary non-duty and non-pay status, to RIFs, which is being permanently fired. Vaught could choose the programs that the administration has been wanting to eliminate and give a very big haircut to others. The result would be a dramatic, instantaneous shift in the separation of powers. Let me underline this. While the purse is empty, the Office of Management and Budget, led by Russell Vaught, who is a Project 2025 author, by the way, would seize the power of the purse from Congress. The administration could choose to prolong a shutdown for as long as it liked, through poison pills in the negotiations with congressional Democrats, and comb through the government to flatted programs it's been trying to cut. I think I'm supposed to say to flatten programs it's been trying to cut. With this prospect looming, the administration has little incentive to do more than shed crocodile tears over a shutdown. And then, when the shutdown is over, when the administration chooses to end it, those employees who were furloughed would come back on the payroll with back pay through a 2019 law. The employees who were RIFed would not. This would be an historic and incredible invention of a backdoor impoundment. OMB could prevent the administration of programs it opposes by gutting the government's capacity to administer them. The Trump team could kill programs unilaterally without the inconvenience of going to Congress. To top it all off, this would be perfectly legal. So, in other words, what it looks like they're going to use this shutdown to do is exactly what they did under Elon Musk and Doge. Now, for those of you who don't remember, we had Elon Musk at the beginning of Trump's time in office. We had Elon Musk unilaterally hack into U.S. government agencies, and he cut pediatric cancer research. He cut the funding for NOAA and the NWS, the National Weather Service. So now we get worse weather forecasts because not only did they fire people, they also cut the number of weather balloons that we have. He cut Meals on Wheels, the CFPB, which is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which protects you from getting scammed. Nuclear safety officials. In fact, he had to beg the top nuclear safety official to come back. Cut FEMA, the Department of Education, fired 83,000 veterans, shut 50% of the Social Security offices, fired 250,000 government workers overall, fired food safety inspectors and air traffic controllers, and they cut scientific research and medical research, and so, and only some of it. USAID, which, by the way, there was an article that came out the other day from Nick Kristof in the New York Times that said 88 kids were dying a day because they couldn't get malaria medication and HIV medication. So what Trump is going to do is, in the same way that they illegally did these cuts under Elon Musk and got away with it, by the way, they retroactively approved a lot of the cuts. Now, they're going to do it again in a government shutdown. They're going to do it again in a government shutdown. Except this time, they have some sort of pseudo-legal framework. Not that it mattered, because they did it when there was no legal framework. If that's what happened. They did it when there was no legal framework and got away with it. Now, they're going to do the same fucking thing with a pseudo-legal framework. So this is how fucked everything is. This is how fucked everything is. And if you're a Democrat, the best thing you could do is be on them like a fucking hawk. And anytime they cut some shit, you scream bloody murder. Every single time they destroy the government. You have to point that out to the American people and say, look, they are destroying the government. They do not believe in having a functional federal government, quite literally. They're against that. They want a government so small you can drown it in a bathtub. Okay, well, there are consequences to that. Some of them that we just laid out for you here. So, in all seriousness, for the Democrats, they really are in a no-win position, right? Because if you give them whatever they want up front, which was what Schumer did the first time around, you give them whatever they want, and then you're giving them whatever they want, and you're not putting up a fight at all, right? So you're being weak. But if you pick a fight over this, which it's good that they are picking somewhat of a fight over this, although I'd fight a lot harder and pick many more issues, well, then they're just going to do more Doe-style cuts anyway. So they do the Doe-style cuts when they're illegal. They do them now in this pseudo-legal way with the government shutdown. And again, the only thing the Democrats need to do is you guys need to be screaming bloody murder at every turn. Now, by the way, I got to show you this, because Russell Vaught, again, Project 2025 author, who's the head of OMB, who's going to now basically take a fucking chainsaw to the government because there's the shutdown. Here's what he was admitting on TV, what he's about to do. Listen.
Estimate for us, give us some ballpark numbers here. We've already had some sizable reductions in force. Actually, there's a number 300,000 floating around for this calendar year. That may or may not be the right number, but that number is floating around. Now, if there's a budget shutdown, as our own chat program suggested, almost ineluctably will be a budget shutdown, then you have the authority to reduce the federal employee count by roughly how much?
Well, I'm going to let that those kinds of questions extend until tomorrow and the days after. Right now, where we are, we have hours to go before a government shutdown, and it can be avoided. And then we'll get in tomorrow. The preparation is all done. We have many options, but we're going to get in tomorrow and see where we are, and we're going to manage this shutdown and try to keep the American people from the havoc that the Democrats have caused on with their crazy demands. But let it be said, there are all manner of...
Literally the one demand was don't cut health care. The one demand.
Authorities to be able to keep this administration's policy agenda moving forward, and that includes reducing the size and scope of the federal government, and we will be looking for opportunities to do that.
Do you understand what he's saying there? Putting it in simple terms, they are not negotiating in good faith. This is a purge. They're doing a purge of the government. All right, more. So here we have Trump, again, saying the quiet part loud and admitting it in the Oval Office. Listen to what he says here.
About the state of the Democrat Party when they have a 33% favorability rating on average in recent months, and they're willing to shut down the government over healthcare.
They are shutting it down. We're not shutting it down. We don't want it to shut down because we have the greatest period of time ever. I told you, we have $17 trillion being invested. So the last person that wants to shut down is us now. With that being said, we can do things during the shutdown that are irreversible, that are bad for them and irreversible by them.
You fucking idiot. You just said it. You fucking idiot. You just gave the game away. Oh, we don't want the shutdown, but by the way, a shutdown would be great. We'd be able to do a lot of things that we don't think we could do otherwise. It would be awesome. But we don't want the shutdown. Blame the Democrat. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? He's too stupid to be in this position.
During the shutdown that are irreversible, that are bad for them and irreversible by them, like cutting vast numbers of people out, cutting things that they like, cutting programs that they like. And you all know Russell Vaught. He's become very popular recently because he can trim the budget to a level that you couldn't do any other way. So they're taking a risk by having a shutdown because of the shutdown, we can do things medically and other ways.
He's literally just admitted we're going to cut stuff medically. We're going to cut healthcare. We can go in there and cut whatever the fuck we want. Oh my God. Oh my God.
They're taking a risk by having a shutdown because of the shutdown, we can do things medically and other ways, including benefits. We can cut large numbers of people. We don't want to do that, but we don't want fraud, waste, and abuse.
Oh, he caught himself. We can cut all these things that they like medical things and whatnot. We can cut all that. But actually, no, what I really want, I want to make sure there's no waste, fraud, and abuse. You just admitted, oh, we're going to cut the things the Democrats like. We want to get rid of it. We want to cut the medical. We're going to cut the medical. But no, it's actually just about the waste, fraud, and abuse. Oh, my God, bro. Oh, my God. Guess what? He didn't just admit it once yesterday. He admitted it twice.
And so we're doing well as a country, so the last thing we want to do is shut it down. But a lot of good can come down from shutdowns. We can get rid of a lot of things that we didn't want. And
now do you understand what's happening? They are not negotiating in good faith. These are effectively terrorists. That's what they are. Hell-bent on destroying everything that works in the federal government. That's what this is.
they'd be Democrat things, but they want open borders. They want men playing in women's sports. They want transgender for everybody.
What? He's like, his brain just like sputtered out and went back to his standard dumbass talking points. That's what that was. They want transgender for everybody. What does that mean? Oh my God.
They don't learn. We won an election in a landslide. They just don't learn. So we have no choice. I have to do that for the country.
In other words, I have to do this. The same Doe style cuts. We're gonna do the same shit now. We're gonna do the same shit now. So, this is insane. No vote in Congress, no even.
So we need new voters. And if we give all these illegal aliens free health care, we might be able to get them on our side so they can vote for us. They can't even speak English, so they won't realize we're just a bunch of woke pieces of shit, you know, at least for a while until they learn English and they realize they hate us too.
So, as I pointed out, total lie. There's nothing in this about Democrats fighting for undocumented immigrants for getting health care. They just made that up. It was just completely and utterly made up. And this is what Trump's doing at the same time. 750,000 government workers are about to lose their jobs. That's anybody railroads and mocking.
I think it would be a tremendously negative mark on the President of the United States. He's the one that has to get people together.
That says it all, doesn't it? That says it all. But as I pointed out, he doesn't want to bring people together. He doesn't want a solution. He wants to fucking slash everything under the sun. Now here is a super right-wing, hardcore corporatist Democrat. And here's what he's saying about this issue.
Hey everybody, I'm still down here in Washington, D.C. The Senate just had a vote which failed, which means a shutdown at 12 o'clock tonight is very, very likely. And this is going to be very painful for a lot of people and very difficult. This whole idea of my way or the highway that the Republicans have been pushing is not the way to go. We've got to negotiate to try and keep the government open, or get it reopened, I should say. Number two, we've got to try and do something to keep the health insurance cost of people down. They're about to skyrocket because of the expiration of these premium tax credits. It's going to be very, very painful and very shocking for a lot of people all over the country. It's going to affect your health insurance premiums because more people that get kicked off their insurance because they can't afford it makes everybody else's health insurance more expensive. And the president and the White House have got to stop these unilateral cuts of this chaos they're trying to promote, and this idea that they're looking forward to a shutdown because they can do a lot of more cuts that they wouldn't be able to do otherwise. I'm very concerned about that. I did a post about that earlier today. So please, everybody, stay in touch, keep track of what's going on, follow what's going on. Let's work together to solve problems.
Going down a small hole.
So this is one of the most, if not the most, conservative Democrats in the House of Representatives, and he's saying in no uncertain terms, Republicans are saying my way or the highway, and all us Democrats are asking for is to still have Obamacare subsidies, so working families have lower health, absurdly high percentage of the time. And even he's going, doesn't look like they're negotiating in good faith. Doesn't look like they give a fuck about healthcare costs or anything else for that matter. And so that's exactly right. That's exactly right. But what Democrats need to realize, they need to wake up and realize we're not in normal times. Like this is different from any other time in U.S. history. Because here you have a rogue, terrorist, fascist regime that actively wants to destroy the entire federal government. Does not care in the slightest about the immense pain and suffering they cause. They take glee at the 750,000 furloughs, and you're going to have the OMB director, Russell Vought, Project 2025 boy. He's probably going to try to fire hundreds of thousands of people on top of the 250,000 they already illegally fired. And so your job, if you're a Democrat, is to control the narrative. Your job is to go out there and let everybody know They're full of shit. They're fucking lying. They love the fact that there's a shutdown right now. They want your healthcare costs to go higher, which is why they're not giving in to our one demand, which is keep healthcare costs lower. This is who they are. This is what they believe in. This is what they're doing. And so you have to do that. You need to define the terms and the things you should absolutely be fighting for, not only lower healthcare costs, which I think is good, but also you should be fighting on no more of these illegal wars like with Venezuela. You should be fighting on no more illegally invading the United States of America. He's going full fascist and you're not even using that as a talking point.
Unlock your stay for less with app-exclusive prices. Download the free Booking.com app today.
新規会員特典ご利用のチャンス。驚きの価格で次の旅を予約しよう。
Pretty much from the jump, it's been hard to keep track of all the many ways that shit has gotten just dumb as hell in this country in the last 9 months, and also keep track of all the various ghouls actively making things dumber. This administration is absolutely stacked from front to back with dangerously stupid individuals who have no idea what the hell they are doing, but think that they're the smartest person in the room. Last week, it was Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s turn to really show off how ridiculous it is that he's in charge of the country's healthcare. And this week, it was time for Pete Hegseth, Whiskey Pete, seen here accidentally kicking a skateboard into his nutsack to demonstrate just how out of his depth he is. The former Fox News host is widely considered to be the least qualified defense secretary in U.S. history, lacking both the relevant military and organizational leadership experience for the job. But he wasn't hired for his competence. He got the job because he looks good on TV and is a Trump loyalist and has the same antiquated, oversimplified, tough guy views on military issues that Trump has.
Yeah, so far during his tenure as Secretary of War, Hegseth has mainly used his position to try and root out any trace of woke from the U.S. military, which has primarily meant stuff like banning transgender people from serving and erasing the accomplishments of women and minorities, all while trying to seem really tough and alpha about it all. In fact, we're giving the Medal of Honor to people who served at Wounded Knee.
That's right.
Who served at Wounded Knee.
They served.
Not massacred.
They mowed down those women and children 150 years ago, and they did
it bravely.
They deserve our respect.
So when it was announced that Hegseth had told hundreds of the military's top brass around the world to drop everything and come to an in-person meeting in Virginia, no one was really sure what this was going to be about, but it must be something pretty damn important. It couldn't possibly be Secretary Headass just reiterating the same dumb bullshit that he's been saying the whole time about wokeness and DEI and war fighters to a captive audience of people significantly more qualified than himself, right? It couldn't just be that. Well, that's exactly what it was, actually. So,
no more identity months, DEI offices, dudes in dresses. No more climate change worship. No more division, distraction, or gender delusions. No more debris. As I've said before, and will say again, we are done with that shit. For too long, we've promoted too many uniformed leaders for the wrong reasons. Based on their race, based on gender quotas. We became the woke department. But not anymore. As foolish and reckless as the woke department was, those officers were following elected political leadership. An entire generation of generals and admirals were told that they must parrot the insane fallacy that, quote, our diversity is our strength. Of course, we know our unity is our strength. They had to put out dizzying DEI and LGBTQI plus statements. They were told females and males are the same thing, or that males who think they're females totally normal. They were told that we need a green fleet and electric tanks. They were told to kick out Americans who refuse an emergency vaccine. They followed civilian policies set by foolish and reckless political leaders. Frankly, it's tiring to look out at combat formations, or really any formation, and see fat troops. Likewise, it's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon and leading commands around the country and the world. It's a bad look. I don't want my son serving alongside troops who are out of shape, or in combat unit with females who can't meet the same combat arms physical standards as men. Should our enemies choose foolishly to challenge us, They will be crushed by the violence, precision, and ferocity of the War Department. In other words, to our enemies, F-A-F-O. Words I'm speaking today are making your heart sink, then you should do the honorable thing and resign. We would thank you for your service.
This could have been an email, I think.
Yeah, and honestly, if I'm being as open and honest as possible, pretty gay.
A little bit gay. And clearly trying to ripping off the opening shot from the movie Patton.
Yes.
It's all about appearances. The whole thing is just about aesthetics.
Yeah.
And
Pete, a certain look really gets Pete Hegseth going.
But I mean, I didn't think I could relate to our country's generals and admirals, but hey, we've all had that job where you're supposed to drop everything you're doing and come listen to the boss waste your fucking time.
And tell you that you're not in shape enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Call you fat.
Yeah. Remember when you served in like the Gulf War and now you're aging? Time to suck it up. Get out there on the obstacle course once again.
Yeah, but don't think too hard about that, because the commander-in-chief of the military,
he's extremely overweight.
Yeah, not in great shape, but you know.
But everyone else, and by the way, no beards, except for the Vice President of the United States, who also has a beard. But Hegseth's gonna call what did he say? Like, quote, you beardos? Like weirdos?
That one in particular is literally just racist. It was only in the last like 10 years or so they started doing beard vouchers, and it's for primarily black men who, if they shave on a daily basis, they get ingrown hairs because their hairs are curly. I know this because I had this problem in high school where I had to shave every fucking day and would try to get out of it. I'd try to go as long as I could without shaving, but sometimes I'd get caught and they'd forced me to go in the bathroom with the worst razor ever, and I'd come out covered in blood, and they'd be like, yeah,
looking great.
Definitely an improvement from that minor 5 o'clock shadow you had before. Anyway, a room full of generals had to just sit there and listen to an alcoholic rant about wokeness and DEI and call our service members and the people in attendance fat and, saber rattle at the rest of the world.
Again, just the weakest possible display when the intention is trying to be overly.
It does not exude confidence.
No, not at all.
This is some real
have to do
insecure shit.
Yeah.
Basically, he thinks that the U.S. military, the most advanced and well-funded military on Earth, with troops stationed all around the world, has gone soft, and it's time to toughen up. And part of that toughening up, apparently, is to let drill sergeants hit recruits again, and also make it a lot harder for whistleblowers to report misconduct and discrimination and waste.
Okay.
Can't have any of that. Anyway, you may have noticed in those clips that despite the whole campaign rally vibe, the audience was pretty much dead silent, and that's mainly because of decorum. But it also sounds like attendees weren't particularly stoked about what they were forced to sit and listen to, and in many cases travel probably halfway around the world, forced to attend and watch this spectacle take place.
Yeah.
Here's raw story. Longtime Pentagon reporter Helene Cooper said that she can't find any military officials who attended the meeting in Virginia with President Donald Trump and Secretary Pete Hegseth and liked what they heard. I have yet to find a single military official who was in the audience today who thought that this was a good presentation, she told MSNBC on Tuesday afternoon.
All I've had from them so far, from the people I've talked to, is a combination of disbelief that some of them were made to fly from, some of them Asia, from all over the world, all the way to Quantico, to listen to the same familiar type of culture war complaints that we've been having since Trump was reelected, she added, calling Trump's remarks a campaign-style stump speech. Nothing that was said today could not have been put in an email or in a directive. So there's that, to begin with. There's also the fact that so much of this was partisan. And this is a military that is supposed to present itself as nonpartisan. So you didn't hear the kind of cheering that we usually get because President Trump is used to playing for the types of crowds that favor him, Cooper explained. And so he's not very used to performing in front of an audience that's just giving, looking back stone-faced. But that's what you were getting from these generals. The other thing she noted is that she's gotten so many emails from women in the military who are seeing this as a message that they are not welcome.
Yeah, he's saying that women are going to be held to the same like fitness standards as men, which is literally that's just a way to like keep women out of like important roles and keep them in purely support roles. Yeah, it's basically just turning the clock back.
And so much of
the
this
40s and
is
50s.
Yes.
Because that's when America was great, I guess. And Trump was there too. Of course, not to mention that. For the most part, it was unclear why he was there. He got up on stage and he rambled in his usual Grandpa Simpson stream of consciousness way about all the usual shit that he rambles about at rallies, but with noticeably way less energy than usual. Only occasionally remembering to like kind of stay on topic with the military stuff.
So didn't it used to be called the Department of War? And he goes, yes, sir. They changed it like in the early 50s. So we won the First World War. We won the Second World War. We won everything in between and everything before that. We only won. And then we went, in a way, woke. That was probably the first sign of wokeness. And we changed it to defense instead of war. And I said, what do you think? How do you think if we changed it back? Would that be a nice idea?
See, the problem was the flag behind him was too big. He couldn't get his arms around it.
Yeah,
I've got so much love to give.
He was too turned on.
Yeah.
Big, beautiful flag.
Yeah. The pole is sticking up right now.
But yeah, after rambling like that for quite a while, he got to the point, and the point was basically just reiterating what's abundantly clear at this point. Trump loves the idea of troops occupying large left-leaning cities, and he sees it as one of the U.S. military's core missions under his leadership. Which again, nothing new, but still some pretty chilling stuff here.
Washington, D.C. was the most unsafe, most dangerous city in the United States of America. And to a large extent, beyond. And beyond that. You go to Afghanistan, they didn't have anything like that. You go to countries that you would think there's problems, they didn't have that. What they've done to San Francisco, Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, they're very unsafe places, and we're going to straighten them out one by one. And this is going to be a major part for some of the people in this room. That's a war, too. It's a war from within. Portland, Oregon, where it looks like a war zone. And I get a call from the liberal governor. Sir, please don't come in. We don't need you. I said, well, unless they're playing false tapes, this looked like World War II. Your place is burning down. I mean, you must be kidding. Sir, we have it under control. I said, you don't have it under control, Governor, but I'll check it, and I'll call you back. I called her back. I said, this place is a nightmare. It's certainly not the biggest, but it's one of the worst. It's brutal. Our history is filled with military heroes who took on all enemies, foreign and domestic. You know that phrase? Very well. That's what the oath says, foreign and domestic. Well, we also have domestic. Only in recent decades did politicians somehow come to believe that our job is to police the far reaches of Kenya and Somalia, while America is under invasion from within. We're under invasion from within.
By
no different
Trump.
than a foreign
By
enemy,
this fucker right here.
but more difficult in many ways because they don't wear uniforms. At least when they're wearing a uniform, you can take them out. These people don't have uniforms. But we are under invasion from within. We're stopping it very quickly.
Yeah, not great. So, I mean, we've been calling what Trump's been doing with the military in cities like LA and DC and now Chicago and Portland.
And Memphis.
A war on those cities. But I mean, here he is using that same language himself, which is nuts. Coming from a U.S. president.
The commander-in-chief of the military, saying these words is a little scary.
Yeah, it also sounds like our theory about him just being shown a bunch of fake, possibly AI-generated footage of these cities looking like war zones may have some truth to it.
Yeah,
because
I'm sure that
he's like, what you're saying doesn't match what I'm seeing, and they're like, trust me, I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm the mayor of Portland. It's not on fire. He's like, but in the pictures, it's on fire.
Well, in the first administration, he would refuse to even read the briefs that he was given on a daily basis. So now they're probably they were actually, wasn't that the first administration where they're like, we're making a Fox News style show to deliver him
I remember that.
the daily briefings. Now they're probably just like, okay, put the briefing into someone's AI and have it create.
Just go on to Gemini and have it make a short clip of Antifa super soldiers burning down the entire city of Portland.
Stephen Miller's like, okay, and now also Antifa has infiltrated Portland and they've overturned the city, put that in there as well. And so Trump sees it and he's like, oh my gosh, my stars, the military, we have to get them ready right now. Get me the biggest flag you've ever seen.
Anyway, not that it matters, but it's worth remembering that what Trump is describing here is in blatant violation of the Posse Comitatus Act, which limits the military's role in domestic law enforcement.
Oh, it's against the rules?
I mean, so far they've kind of worked around that by just having the troops kind of show up and not really fucking do anything aside from stand around as a show of force alongside actual law enforcement. But what Trump's talking about here is he seems to really want the troops going into these cities, treating them like war zones, and that's not good. It's also illegal, but it's just not good regardless of the law. Now, you would hope that the leaders in attendance at that meeting would agree with us that it's not good, but it's impossible to know until they are asked to do it.
Yeah.
Because they can either go along the ride or they're gonna have to decide if there's a line that they won't cross.
Yeah, we'll have to see because that line keeps getting crossed.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's an annoying cliche at this point that anytime the Trump administration does anything, that it's a distraction from something else. But the timing of Pete Kegstan's pep rally does make it seem like it might have at least partially been an attempt to distract from the fact that the U.S. federal government, oops, it's shut down. First time since 2018 when Trump was in office. Shut down, baby. And yeah, that seems pretty likely to happen for a while now, but it happened. It came and it went, and the government is shut down.
We all saw this coming.
Enjoy all of your scheduled outings at our beloved national parks in the coming weeks.
Or don't.
Yeah, or don't at all, because it's going to be very tough for you.
I mean, it sounds like some of them, they're just leaving the door open. They're like, all right, don't break anything, I guess. Don't go poaching our nation's beautiful protected fauna.
So the reason for the shutdown, according to Republicans, is that Democrats are holding the government hostage because they want to give illegal immigrants free health care, which is obviously absurd and not true. But it sounds better than admitting that Republicans are trying to take away Medicaid coverage from millions of low-income and disabled Americans and jack up healthcare costs for Obamacare plans so that millionaires and billionaires can have tax cuts. And Democrats are trying to stop that from happening.
They cannot buy health care plans on children's health insurance. But citizens will see their health care premiums double next year if Republicans...
Small portion of those who would lose coverage, and because Republicans consider those people to be illegal immigrants, even though they're not, they're twisting all this to say that the Democrats are trying to give free health care to illegal immigrants. There you go. They're not trying to do that, and in fact, what they're trying to do is something that a lot of Republicans who voted for the big, beautiful bill immediately turned around on and said, oh,
wait,
hold on,
wait. Did I sign that? Did I sign that?
Oh, that's going to be very unpopular when it comes time for re-election. But yeah, meanwhile, if Republicans get their way, health insurance costs will more than double for millions of Americans who get their insurance through the Affordable Care Act, aka Obamacare, which seems especially bad given how expensive everything else has gotten. So just another expense that's going to get marked up very soon. Here's CNBC. Premiums for health plans purchased over the Affordable Care Act marketplace will more than double in 2026 if enhanced subsidies expire at year's end as scheduled, according to an analysis threatens to shut down the federal
to maybe have to go to the doctor. It's insane.
Yeah, healthcare is horrifying here.
Anyway, this shutdown looks like it's going to last at the last one in 2018 power mode. And in 2018 is the
every branch of government.
Yeah, and is only putting their foot down here because they really want the richest people in this country to pay less taxes and have the rest of us foot the bill for it.
And they're also, of course, using this opportunity to illegally punish various states that where Trump isn't very popular. Here's Reuters. U.S. President Donald Trump's administration on Wednesday froze $26 billion for Democratic-leaning states, following through on a threat to use the government shutdown to target Democratic priorities. The targeted programs included $18 billion for transit projects in New York, home to Congress's top 2 Democrats, and $8 billion for green energy projects in 16 Democratic-run states, including California and Illinois. Vice President J.D. Vance, meanwhile, warned that the administration might extend its purge of federal workers if the shutdown lasts more than a few days. The moves made clear that Trump would carry out his threat to take advantage of the shutdown to punish his political opponents and extend his control over the $7 trillion federal budget established by the U.S. Constitution as the domain of Congress. The government shutdown, the 15th since 1981, suspended scientific research, financial oversight, environmental cleanup efforts, and a wide range of other activities.
Yeah, I mean, the Democrats are in a really rough place here, but, like, I think the best course of action here is to just not dignify this shit as real. Because, as Trump is showing, Congress has no fucking power in this administration. Mm-hmm. They're, you know, giving their stamp of approval to a budget that isn't fucking real. Trump is arbitrarily, illegally deciding where money goes and doesn't go, and that's not something new. That's been happening this entire administration, especially when Elon was back there pulling the fucking copper out of the backs of all the machines. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel like there's probably room to compromise here.
Yeah, well,
but
not sure that's going to happen. Trump just keeps posting increasingly racist AI-generated videos.
Yeah,
they were playing the Hakeem Jeffries in a sombrero at the White House before the press briefing today, on screens that were like in the room.
It is literally the art form and technology of fascism.
Yeah,
and that it's proven more and more correct with each passing day. Yeah, it's I don't know, man.
Well, because no matter what, like the Democrats have already like completely lost the information war. So no matter what happens, this is all their fault.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. That is what pisses me off the most about this is Democrats are so bad at messaging that
yeah, because you have Chuck Schumer walk out and go, they're not going to get away with this illegal power grab, and the country's like, who can't, like, what, come on.
Or just like explain what's happening. Like you just totally
like what is actually going to be lost again.
And no attempt whatsoever to like even claim the narrative or anything. Just letting the Republicans run wild with it. And it's like, yeah, if you don't do that, then yeah, they can say it was all your fault. And if you didn't make any effort to like actually explain to the country why you're doing this, you will get blamed for it. Anyway, it's the first full federal government shutdown since Trump's first term. That one lasted for longer than a month, so this could go on for a while. But you'll surely be pleased to know that construction on the White House's new 90,000 square foot ballroom will continue despite the shutdown. So that's nice, at least, right?
Yeah, because all that money came from all the lawsuits that the companies just handed over to Trump.
Yeah, it's privately funded, which that doesn't seem like how it should work, but that's how it's working.
Yes.
So maybe if we funded all of our government projects with private bribes, we'd never have a shutdown again. Did you ever think of that? Don't
sure.
give too many ideas. Anyway, that's enough politics.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like the country's been trying that for a couple decades.
That's been the plan.
Yeah, that was the whole plan, and then that obviously has not worked. In fact, things have gotten terrible.
But the plan so far is like take taxes and give it to private companies. And then their bottom line.
Everyday earbuds, classic. But I have seen these around more. The one that he's in where it's like it's a projection on a box.
Yeah.
And they put a shadow to make it look like there's a person in the space within the box. It's like another trick, another like visual trick. But
my stupid eyes were fooled.
Yeah,
is that Stan Lee back from the dead? It's like he never died. It's like he's right here in front of me, talking just like the real Stan Lee would, referring to him. Wow, I'm soaked.
And they're not just trying to resurrect the dead and replace human actors with AI-generated actors. They're trying to create AI-generated movie stars, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it got the actors unions pretty upset this week.
Yeah, as they should be, I think.
Yeah. Here's Reuters.
The recent debut of an AI-generated actress dubbed Tilly Norwood and its producers' boasts of interest from studio executives sparked a backlash on Tuesday from the SAG-AFTRA Actors Union, condemning the replacement of human performers with synthetics. The Hollywood buzz around Tilly Norwood, introduced on Saturday at a film industry conference in Zurich, and the union's scathing reaction to it reflected the dread many in the creative community feel about the intersection of artificial intelligence and show business.
Yeah.
The official Tilly Norwood launch consisted of a 20-second appearance of the photoreal character, a 20-something fictional ingenue bearing no particular resemblance to any real celebrity, in a brief video parody about making an AI-generated television show. Dutch actor-producer Eline van der Velden, whose London-based AI production studio Particle 6 created Tilly Norwood, said during her presentation at the Zurich Summit, the project was starting to turn heads. After months of facing boardroom skepticism, talent agents were starting to tell her, "We need to do something with you guys," Hollywood trade paper Variety quoted van der Velden as saying. She said an announcement of a first of its kind talent agency deal was a few months away, Variety reported. They're banging on the doors.
Yeah.
Give me Tilly Norwood.
I don't really understand. I know that they'll explain it, but I don't understand what the difference between this and a CGI character would be in the idea of a movie. Like, is this just going to be like
It'll all make sense when you...
It's like a multiverse, but with every movie. This is like what they were trying to pitch when they were trying to put NFTs in video games.
Yeah.
They're like, and then you'll take the sword out of the game and put it in another game, but it'll be the exact same sword. Like if you put this Tilly fucking Norwood whatever in a DreamWorks movie versus a Pixar movie, it's gonna look slightly different. But it's like, oh, but it comes up with its own lines? No, that's the writer's job.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. The more you think about it, the less sense it makes.
That's what you don't think about.
But it's really causing a buzz in the industry.
Yeah, and some person from the industry who was drunk at a party, who was like getting talked to by this lady, was like, yeah, no, everyone wants to work with your AI star. I'm gonna go get another drink from the bar.
Yeah.
Hey, the phones are ringing off the hook.
It's especially funny to me because it's like, you don't think the studios themselves are working on this themselves?
Yeah.
Like, why would they pay this fake actor money when they're probably working on the same fucking thing? It's just it's so dumb.
I don't understand.
Ah, shit. Just walked in a fucking... Let's see.
Like the logic. I'm a huge fan of this Tilly. Like, all I can picture in my mind is like two 65-year-old dude executives going, and she never ages. That's the great thing. She doesn't get older, and she can't sue you for sexual misconduct. That's right. Again, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense, especially if you just ask some basic questions. But yeah, AI-generated footage with fake characters in it. Yeah, okay. A specific AI-generated character being treated like a person and getting their own talent agent and starring in things, that's dumb as hell. They already did this with that fucking Instagram musician. Yeah, every couple of years there's like AI generated like influencer that pops up.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we got to sign her. Michaela.
Like, oh yeah,
It was like Michaela.
Yeah, and we're like, okay, what does she do? Cool.
I made it on my computer, and she looks like she's a character.
Surely people will follow this fictional person
forever.
The same way they follow the lives of like actual real life actors and actresses and celebrities and influencers who like actually are out in the world doing shit.
Yeah.
They think we're all stupid.
Well, some people fucking are, and those people run these studios.
Yeah, that's fair.
Thankfully, this mostly just feels like another stunt, like the Stan Lee thing. And at this point, Lily Norwood exists solely as an Instagram account in which this fake, non-existent person is presented as if she's a real celebrity, posting cute glimpses at her life, which also, who cares? Again, Michaela, I believe, was the name of
not even the first person to do this.
You're not real, so why would anyone be into this? It also features clips of her acting work, which really doesn't stand out at all compared to any of the other AI slop that we've seen, except that we're supposed to pretend that this is a real person. It's weird as hell, and we're not sure who this is supposed to appeal to besides the cheapest and most tasteless studio executive. Like, it would be one thing if you were seeing just a slew of, like in the late 90s, early 2000s, where you just see so many movies, like thrown together cheap movies that are filling the bin at Walmart for $5. It's like if this were a real thing and it was actually this cheap and passable, you'd see so many budget garbage movies being made.
Yeah, I mean, we probably.
I'm sure it's happening. I'm sure it's happening, but like, I feel as if the general public is going to see this for the first time. Like the first time that a studio really puts their weight behind it and reject it. Yeah, it's like, why would I have this when I can have Antonio Banderas as a cat?
Yeah, checkmate. Yeah, I don't know. It's I mean, like, did you see like the Sora 2, OpenAI's newest video model? Like, it is genuinely. I'm concerned at like just the amount of misinformation.
Yes, a lot of the stuff I've seen is very bad.
It's just like
because it knows